Welcome to the Practice Leader Podcast, brought to you by Ascent, a show for medical practice administrators who feel stuck in the daily chaos and want to lead with intention. I'm Zed Williamson, founder and CEO of Physician Growth Accelerator.
And I'm Paul Richards, president of Ascent and director of otolaryngology at the University of Utah School of Medicine. Every week, we explore what high-performing leaders are doing in real time, so you can stop reacting and start leading with purpose, strategy, and results.
Many times you're brought into a practice in this leadership role, and the practice may have a little bit of chaos. And the number one skill that is appreciated when you come into this practice is putting some controls in place, getting in charge of what's going on. But there can be a point where we actually tighten the control too much, and there's value in letting some things go. And that's why we're speaking with our guest today, Afser Shariff. He is the CEO and Chief Medical Officer of Physicians Angels and a practicing ENT. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I love this topic. There's actually a lot of human behavior related to how I started the podcast. As practices grow, we feel like there's a point where we need to put controls on everything because that's what's necessary. And sometimes someone's skill set gets tied to putting those controls on, but it can go too far. Can you talk about that a bit?
Well, we often find that practice administrators are well-intentioned about trying to bring everything under their umbrella. And in doing so, they sometimes overwhelm themselves. They put too much on their plate, and it becomes very difficult to actually dive deeper into the things that you need to dive into. And then the things that you don't need to dive into, you might get sucked into. So it's one of those challenges of picking and choosing your battles and looking to bring in the best resources or the resource managers. So that way you don't have to micromanage down to the minutia of every aspect of your practice. So having a good sub-manager or lower level managers, and they don't all have to be directly employed by you. So that's one of the things that we try to bring into a practice. We bring them skilled workers along with skilled managers so that practice administrators can start delegating and freeing themselves up so they can tackle big picture ideas and roll out bigger projects.
I'm pretty sure that someone listening right now feels like they are the key to the organization, meaning every question goes through them, everything goes through them. And it sounds like what you're talking about is thinking and creating a structure in which that doesn't have to be the case. Am I off base with making that correlation?
You're pretty spot on about that. But one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that a lot of practice administrators may also feel the pull of having multiple maybe physicians or other leadership members asking them to do this, do that. And so for them, if they're not on top of all of these things, then they may not be, they may not feel comfortable with appearing that they are the person that was hired to do this job. So I would hate to use the word insecurity, but there is some insecurity there. There's some schizophrenia that comes with being a practice administrator because you have to do so many different things. And depending on the size of the practice, you might be doing things that you never thought you would have to do when you were hired in. And this is where we come in and say, look, what are your strengths? What are the things that you really enjoy doing for your practice that you can be the best person in the room? What are the things that you really don't want to do but need a really good set of hands involved? Well, that's what we want to get involved with. And even if you're the best in some things and you want to develop something else, since you're already the best at that, that's something you can delegate away because it only takes you a moment to step in and solve that problem. And you can build the skill sets that you don't really have right now and focus on that. So there's different ways of playing this. It just comes down to the person's interests and motivations.
I appreciate this. I've just been diagnosed. I knew there was something wrong with me. Now I know I've got schizophrenia. I appreciate it. It's a good feeling to know. But no, seriously, I think I'm in that boat where I'm sitting there thinking, okay, yes, I need help. I need help. I need to find somebody. I need to hire somebody. I need to bring somebody in or whatever. But this is expanding that thought process to, it doesn't have to be someone in your exact office space, one of your own. It could be something external, right?
Right. So, I mean, I lost track of how many, I was asked this question the other day, how many ENT practices we have. I've literally lost track because it was easy when we had 20, 30, 35, 40, then, but once you get past a certain number, you lose track of how many practices on a daily basis that you're interacting with different layers of management and employees. And so when this happened, we ended up creating a pool of executive leaders that are available on demand on a project basis or for longer periods based on what's developing in a practice. And they turn it on and turn it off. And there's a sense of freedom that comes to a practice administrator who suddenly is wielding a massive team that can answer the questions, deliver what needs to be delivered, but yet they're not carrying a overhead that's there on every single monthly report. So you're flexing your staff, you're flexing this pretty powerful force, it's special teams when you need it.
What has been the most common point of surprise by someone where they think that they have an issue that you can't solve with your solution that you actually can, that's really shocked somebody?
Well, the first time they get their report, they're like, wow, I didn't know there was that much data for us. Now, we can kill them with data, so to speak, because we can do the Excel spreadsheets, we can get them recorded events, transcribe reports. So for example, the phone call team that we have that takes inbound phone calls, that does outbound phone management, they're patient care coordinators. When practices experience this, they are blown away by the fact that their office staff now have so much more time to engage in the patients that are coming in because they're not stuck on the phone and treating the person in front of them as, oh, wait, I'll get to you after I get done with this person who is across town, who may never come to my office, but they're more important than you are, you took the time to drive over here and stand in front of me, but I can't devote the time to you. So when you have this phone agent that's able to engage with patients so that your staff can engage directly with the person in front of you, and that phone agent can give you a detailed report of what happened, word for word transcription. You have the audio feed as well. And then you can start doing metrics off of that. Then you can start looking at, okay, how many of them called for this? What was the outcome of that? What level of care was provided? Because we're not just talking about an AI that's going to parcel out some of the stuff. We're talking about being able to engage at a very high level and start the triage process and even start a clinical pathway for that patient before they even come to the office. So it's a very robust program. And for practice administrators, when they first roll it out, they're shocked at how much value add it is for them. They're shocked at how much freedom there is in the practice now to tackle other things. And the third thing that comes up, and this is something we've seen time and time again, is that, wow, our bottom line actually improved because we were collecting payments that we forgot to collect or couldn't collect because we didn't have the time to collect.
Mhm.
We tend to tell people, go to the website and just pay your bill. Sometimes when you're having this conversation, like, look, can I just take care of that bill for you? Do you want to give me your credit card number, or can I walk you through the website where you can make the payment? So that little extra effort translates into real dollars coming into the practice.
And real dollars today. We're
Mhm.
not waiting on an insurance company to pay us weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. It's true creating cash flow now. So that's a big deal.
But I have a question, kind of this AI, the rise of AI and the promises of AI, where it's like this silver bullet. People think it's going to do everything, and maybe it will, but it's not quite there. And how what advice do you have for those that are looking at going on these AI routes, and what precautions should they have? Because I know I've heard that some of these AI companies, if you vet them a little deeper, they actually are using real people as well. They're not
Yeah.
full AI, right? So that's kind of a question, kind of a discussion point, but then also like, what's the right balance of of people versus kind of AI?
So we do believe in AI being a great tool to help enable a person to do their job better. We are not believers in the AI replacing the human being in the job force. Now, that's a different topic altogether because many of the AI companies, when they're pitching their product, they're talking about replacing your staff.
Yeah.
Or if you can't hire them, just get the AI to do it. And that gets me off on a different philosophical tangent about what happens when one day we're all replaced by AIs, because in theory, we should be able to do that with the vast majority of our jobs. At what point will you not have patients anymore because no one can afford to pay your bills because no one's got a job? So that's a different philosophical tangent. But when it comes back to the AI in the actual practice, uh, the AI can help filter some of the incoming calls. The AI can help automate some of the documentation. The AI scribing, for example, we use AI scribing in our practice and we use it in our company, but we blend it with the human scribe. And what that means is that when I'm using an AI scribe and it's populating my data points into my note and summarizing my note, my human scribe is then able to take that and then go through the rest of the chart and do all the other things that have to be done with that note. Because as of now, that AI doesn't have the ability to go and parcel everything out. That AI cannot make the phone call from that note to the other doctors or other care team members and say, hey, look, Dr. Sharif saw this patient. This is what he found. From the note, we need you to do this, this, and this. It can't do that. So the AI scribe is an enabler for our human scribe to flex and do a heck of a lot more faster. The other thing is that we're now able to have one human scribe cover multiple
Mm.
clients because the AI scribe is an assist in multiple offices at the same time. So you're getting this supercharged person because they're now really, really empowered. Most people who are using an AI scribe are using a glorified transcription tool
Right.
with editing that's self-edits. So it does help them, but they still have to go back and often select ICD codes, CPT codes. They still have to go back and push the order sets through. They still need to go back and pick up the phone and call their scheduler or contact their scheduler. So there's still a lot of extra steps. And when you look at the real time savings, the data that's out there that's been published independent from what we've observed consistently shows that the human scribe still outperforms an AI scribe because the doctor, who's the most expensive employee or participant in the process, is still having to do the additional clicks unless they've delegated that to a medical assistant in the room.
It sounds like the model you just said where the human scribe is able to do more. Just like clinically, we want people to be doing things at the top of their license. With non-clinical employees, we want people doing things that's the top of what they're being paid. And right now, we generally pay somebody and they do different categories of work. A lot of it is not at the level in which they're being paid. A lot of it is less. And that's where it feels like you're saying AI is a great tool because now that person can spend more of their time where their expertise is at a place where we would actually that's the top of where their pay is.
Yeah, so this is there's a great article written in Bloomberg and picked up in New York Times as well about Microsoft Word. When word processing came out in the early 80s, lots and lots of secretaries were taught on it. Eventually, the secretaries disappeared, and word processing became the burden of the white collar workers. So people ended up having to type their own letters and create their own PowerPoints. That used to be delegated out to somebody else. So we ended up putting more and more burden on one hand, or we raised the skill set, you might say. But at the end of the day, you actually created more work for the highest paid person in the room to do. And I see that with the physician and the provider class, that when we are taking care of patients, we're being asked to do more and more and more. And I keep wondering why. Why do I have to be the one that has to do the clicks? And yes, the AI is helping me, but is the AI just another word processing program that's going to make me do even more editing and more clicking in the future? So if I could use an AI as a tool to offload the work to somebody else, I would rather do that than have the AI generate even more work for me to do myself.
Very well said. Is there something that a practice administrator is likely experiencing today that's creating frustration, maybe feels like constraint, a cause of stress, and they don't think that Physician Angels is a solution for it, but you know it is?
That would pretty much be almost everything under the sun at this point, to be honest. And I hate saying it that way, but that's the reality of it. Um, when we look
Sometimes
at
it's hard for people to identify a thing when we do say we can help everywhere. You know what I mean? It helps
right,
them.
right. Yeah. So that's where, I mean, when practices say, what can you do for me? I'm like, okay, why don't we take it from what is it that when you wake up in the morning and get to the office, you really are dreading?
Hmm.
And you can say, okay, well, if I can't fix that, what's the adjacent thing that I can fix so you have the time and effort to solve the thing that you're dreading so you don't dread it in the future? So that's really the key is that we look at it on a holistic level. And if we can treat the different components of it so that the body itself is able to heal, it's a good thing in that respect. So for example, we had a practice call us about their marketing efforts. They said that, they wanted to have a better online presence. And I said, well, we're not really a digital marketing company, but we can help you there. I'm like, what are the other tasks that are preventing your staff from helping you do the marketing? Because your staff are really good with TikTok. You don't know it, but your staff probably are spending a lot of time on TikTok and they can help you create the digital media presence that you need. But if your staff are tied up doing stuff that my staff could be doing for you, then you're not utilizing your staff or your digital presence. So it's really unlocking the potential within your organization by freeing up your organization and not burdening them with documentation tasks or answering phones when you might have someone who can do it better elsewhere.
Yeah. And that actually brings it right back to how we started, where it may be time to let it go. So, well, Dr. Sharif, I really appreciate you joining us today. I know our audience appreciates the insights and the information. If they have questions, they can visit physicianangels.com to learn more about that organization. We'll put that in the show notes. That article you were mentioning, is that a recent article?
Yeah,
From
it was about I think it was last year, January, February that was published. It was a university publication because they went back and tracked the productivity gains from the 1970s to now, and there was a big question mark, why aren't we seeing real gains? And that's because we've just created more burdens for ourselves.
Yeah, that's that's fascinating. Well, we're going to try to track down that article and we'll put that in the show notes as well. And really appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll see you next week on the Practice Leader Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Practice Leader Podcast. If you're feeling the weight of challenges in your practice, know this: the problems you're struggling with today don't have to remain problems. There is a path forward, and you're not walking it alone.
Each week, we'll be here with insights, ideas, and real-world conversations to help you move forward from chaos to clarity.
See you next week.